Good morning, Jasmine Ray. How you
Uh,
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Welcome to World Music Views.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My
Yeah.
name is J.R. Watkins.
J.R. Watkins. Okay, very nice to meet you.
No N.
No N.
Kiss like kiss.
Watkins.
Yeah, Watkins. So I
Cool.
read your book.
Did you? From
I
cover to cover?
did, cover to cover.
Okay.
It's probably a good thing we didn't do this interview before, because now I'm more informed, and I'm gonna start this interview with your music background. Because you
Oh.
said you left school, Tommy Mottola, and that doesn't just happen. The Tommy's not just out here hiring people. So I want to know what was your musical background and exactly how you got into the industry. Tell me a story.
Yeah, so I don't really have a musical background. I always love to sing, but I'm not an entertainer. I always tell people that I'm very much an introvert. So I graduated from high school in North Carolina. And then when I came back to New York, a friend of mine, so everybody knows I can sing, right? I have a voice. I have a good voice. So cousins, family, friends, or Jasmine, can you sing? Can you sing? Can you sing? I always sang in school. People stop me in the hallways. Can you sing? Whatever. So my friend Crystal was like, hey, we're gonna go sit in the audience at 106 in Park. I'm like, okay. If you recall 106 in Park, that was like the big show on BET.
Yep.
It's almost like TRL. They would do like a countdown, blah, blah, blah. So we're online and there's people online singing. And I'm like, why are we on this line? We get to the front of the line and she was like, haha, I put you in a talent show. And I was like, what do you? So my friend tricked me into competing in a talent show for 106 in Park. It's so funny. Nobody asked this question, but this is the true story. So yeah, I was like, I went in, I sang, and I won. I won the talent show. And like one of my idols is Mariah Carey. It's so funny, it's so ironic. And I wound up singing a Mariah Carey song for the competition. And then when I won, they asked me to sing the same song. It was like her rendition of Make It Last Forever. So I sang it on 106 in Park on a segment called Wild Out Wednesday. And then from there, a producer approached me and said, hey, love your voice. I'm working with this rapper. Can you do like a demo for me? Can you demo like his hooks for me? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So like everything happened really fast. So I literally like, I don't know if it was like a week or two later, I went into the studio. I did the demo for this rapper named Stagga Lee. And then he got signed. And then Tommy Mottola, who started his own label, Casablanca, under Universal, was like, well, no, wait, who's that girl? And then, I mean, literally the rest is history. And then he signed me, Saga, and a few others to this group called MVP. And within 3 months, I was on a tour. I was on a world tour. So I went on tour. We had two hits. One was really big in California on the West Coast, even in Hawaii. We flew all up and down the West Coast. It was called Roll with MVP. And then our second hit was called Rock Your Body. I don't know if you remember this. Rock Your Body, mic check one, two. So that was me.
That was you.
That was me. Yeah. So yeah. So thank you for asking that question because people love to say, like I've read some of the comments, not all of them online, that, Mayor Adams gave me a come up and why would I fumble this bag? And, like he gave you a shot. And I was like, well, wait, no, this is actually my third rendition of like being in the public eye because I've kind of been in the public eye since I was like 19 years old. I literally had a record deal, traveled the world, was on stage. I was making really good money as a young adult. And then I wind up traveling the world a second time when I started my nonprofit organization. So I'll stop there and go ahead.
No, no, no. This is interesting. How did you or why did you make a career shift from music to administration or politics? Why did
Yeah. I mean, it was an evolution. I can't say that I just made this conscious effort to go from like one industry to the next. As I mentioned, like I don't consider myself an entertainer. I don't even like to dance. I don't like to be around big crowds of people. So I used to get fined a lot when I was in the music industry. I used to sing and then I'd get right off stage and like go back to the hotel room. And, we were being paid not just to perform, but like to interact with people, to have radio interviews, to stay in the club, to promote. I don't drink, I don't stay up late, and I'm terrible at crowds. So I used to get fined by the label. Every single time I get off stage and run home, they'd fine me. I think it was like $600 or $6,000. I remember whatever it was, they were killing me with those fines because I refused to like drink. I wouldn't stay in the club, blah blah blah. So, I continued singing after, that situation was done. I actually left. I left the group. And then I continued to just sing. Like I
Wait,
continued.
why did you leave the group?
I couldn't. I'm just not an entertainer. I'm telling you, like I had tons of anxiety. I'm telling you, I literally would there's videos and photos. People have these things of me of like there were times where I tried to stay in the club and like one time I remember falling asleep and my head was against like the speaker of the club and like this whole crowd formed around me and people were, taking pictures of me and laughing and they were like, "Oh my God, the performer is sleeping in the club." And I couldn't hang, that just and then I don't drink. So I was not the life of the party. I'm not antisocial, but I'm not an extrovert. So I just, it was very awkward for me. So it never like gelled with who I was. So, and then I was always beefing with the label about finding me. So, eventually I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Which was kind of rude for them to find you. That's some slavery stuff.
It comes with the territory, just like this situation, all the madness, it comes with the territory. You can't, what is it? You can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. So,
I'm gonna get to Eric and mayor life, right? But
yeah.
I want to get deep into as a musician, what were some of the worst experiences and the best experiences?
Um, wow. It's funny because in hindsight, some of the worst were some of the best. So, for example, the producer of MVP was a man named Robert Clavillis. And Robert Clavillis, depending on your age, you might remember from CNC Music Factory, Clavillis and Cole. So CNC Music Factory, they're the ones that created all those like hits, like I think it was It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right. And I think they did the Boricua Anthem and all these other like big hits, right? I think that was his song. Anyway, so I remember, man, the first song I did, which wound up being like a hit on the West Coast, was this La 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 song, this Minnie Robertson song, and I had to go La 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 La, right?
La, 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 la,
La
la,
la
la.
la 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 la. No exaggeration, I might have done that run 300 times in the booth. Like and he was like, okay, that one was good, but not quite right. And back then they didn't have auto tune, right? So, and he didn't even like auto tune. So like that speaks to the nature of like who he is and why he was such a big deal in the music industry. I think it was like in the 90s because he was a perfectionist. So I learned this level of like discipline, but I hated it. I cried. I cried in the booth like I don't know what you're hearing. I'm not hearing what you're hearing. I don't want to get out of here. Like I wanted to quit so much, but he turned me into a perfectionist when it came to like the craft. So like that was like an aspect of it is like really young at a really young age. I just had to learn to cooperate, and to keep going. So in hindsight, it was the worst, but it was the best. Another thing is like contractually, like there were things I didn't agree with. I was a hard ass. I was a hard ass then. I'm a hard ass now. So like, I'd get contracts put in front of me and I'd be like, well, no, I don't agree to this. And then, I would stall projects and albums and because I just would fight for mine. So nothing has changed. I'm the same person, but that doesn't go well with the music industry because people are like, shut up and sing. And I'm like, well, no, I don't agree with
Yeah,
this. So I'm
yeah.
gonna fight.
And you're a
Yeah.
woman and you're beautiful. They just want you to play
Thank
that
you.
game.
Yeah. I mean, that part about just being attractive and all that stuff, like I was surrounded by um like Stag, Max. These were people that I consider like my brothers to this day. So they were I was the only female in the group and I was always surrounded by a bunch of guys and they treated me like their little sister and they overprotected me. It's funny because I hear all these like stories about, unfortunately, like Ashanti, right? And I think it was Irv Gotti who just passed away. And some of the turmoil that she went through. And like, I can't say that I experienced that, thank God, because the people that I was surrounded by, the groups of people that I was surrounded by, they literally treated me like a little sister. Sort of like, I guess, how the relationship she would have with like Ja Rule, right? Like, I was protected in that sense. So like nobody ever exposed me to like the ills of the music industry. I can't walk away saying that, I was ever put in a precarious situation because people always treated me well, thank God. And then also, I like to say I mean, this is in the book and we can get into it later, but like I was raised by my dad. So I've always had like really high standards and I was always like a tomboy and just like a tough ass. So like if I felt like something was coming, I could sniff it out and right away be like, "Well, no. No, thank you." And my being raised by a black man is, you're taught to have a strong personality, and you're taught to have high standards and integrity, and I just, I wouldn't allow it. So not only would I not allow, but the people around me wouldn't allow it. So I was very much protected. So I didn't come across any of the foolishness that a lot of people describe in the music industry.
And I see you spoke highly of Chingy on your Instagram. You
Yeah.
work together, or that was just
Yeah. So like Eric, a very long time ago, we were 22. I was 22 or 23, and he was like 25 or 26. And it was like our very first show on tour. I don't think it was his first show, but it was my first like real show. And it was either Omaha, Nebraska, or if it was like Philly. It was one or the other. I can't remember the place, but I remember we were backstage in this huge theater, and it was right when like right there, his song, his big hit right there, like just was taking off, and then our song was just taking off. So we see each other on tour stops, and we clicked right away. Like he's introverted. It's so funny. Like you'd think all these people are like, and even Eric is introverted. You would think these people, who are entertainers in the public spotlight, like that, that they would be like loud and social, and neither one of them are. So Chingy's like that. So me and Chingy, we became fast friends because we were both like shy, and we enjoyed like deep conversation, and we dated when, like I said, I was 22. We dated for 2 years. But then, he went on tour, he became a huge star. I left the music industry, but we always kept in touch. He's like a really good friend to me. Actually, we just met up 2 months last month. He had he's on that tour with Nelly. So of course, whenever he's in town, he's like, "Hey, I'm in town." I'm like, "Hey, I'm coming." So yeah,
oh, that's nice. So let's
yeah.
get to the book, Political Humanity. I love the interlude that you have, the song that you play in between the chapters as well.
Oh,
Uh,
humanity. What you gonna do?
who is that? Who's that singing? You?
No, that's AI. Believe it or not,
Oh, that's dope. That
it's
is dope.
AI.
You found
Yeah.
one there. You probably should release that as a song by itself.
So it's interesting. Without getting too far ahead of myself, I've got a lot of interest in turning the book into something,
Oh, absolutely.
and the
That's my
music.
first question.
Yeah.
Are you going to turn this into a Netflix series? Because you talk about your grandfather, you talk about your father, you talk
Yeah.
about the mayor, you talk
Yeah.
about your own career. Are you going to make this into a series?
Well, Netflix hasn't reached out, but a lot of producers and executives reached out asking, if the rights to the book are still available. And they are. My attorney's fielding all those inquiries, but yeah, I would love to. I've gotten a lot of interest in not just, the book itself, but like the music, as you mentioned. So I actually recorded a few songs. I had a couple of friends record a few songs. So I almost am at a full album that matches the book.
Which you should drop it. You should drop a political humanity soundtrack.
So I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to figure out the best way to roll it out. But yeah, I have a few songs already that tie into the book. So, once the hype or, of the book starts to slowing down, I might start releasing some songs.
Yeah.
Or like I said, depending on who we decide to work with, they'll have the rights to the music and the book itself. So
So there you are at home, and the mayor or mayor to be came
yeah.
to visit you, and you thought you weren't well dressed. You
Yeah, I
thought,
was in my mom's house. I was in my mom's house and I had on this like mustard. I mean, as you could see, I'm always like in some type of like sweatsuits, but I was in a mustard color sweatsuit. He was like, "Hey, you're supposed to be here with me. I don't want to do this without you." And I was like, I had just had my daughter poem. I was postpartum. I was 185 pounds. Last time I saw him, I was 135 pounds, right? So I was really embarrassed, heavy postpartum. Like it just anything that was wrong or could have been wrong was wrong. My hair was cut short. I always had like really long hair. So this was 3 years ago. So yeah, he walked in and I was so embarrassed about like how I felt, how I look, but he was like, Jazz is beautiful the way that she is. Like she doesn't have to change for anybody. He said it in front of like my family, and that was like a nice, confidence boost. I had missed that, that level of support in my life, both like professionally and personally. So it felt nice. Yeah, it was a welcomed remark.
so here's the question I had immediately. You said you're
Okay.
postpartum. So where was the father of your child for this powerful man to be stepping in like, hey, you're beautiful?
Yeah, he was still around. But so I had my daughter in 2021. He won the primary in 2021. I was breastfeeding. Like I said, I was postpartum. And then I also have a daycare center. I still have my daycare center in Brooklyn. So, I was carrying a lot. I was carrying a lot of weight. I was healing from giving birth. You read the book, you know that like there was an incision made. I bled out. Like I was going through a lot of turmoil, and my daughter's father, who I love, and we're best friends. Literally, we talk every single day, um, and we get along like best friends. He didn't want to get a job. He just was kind of like chilling, and I was like busting my ass, and I was doing the most, and I couldn't carry the weight. So like eventually I just, I was always in tears and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And he was like, his response was, well, to be honest, I never really was in love with you. Yeah, so I was like, well, and at the time I had a ring. So I was like, well, why did you propose? And he's like, well, I thought it was the right thing to do, because we had the baby and
Wow, that I'm putting that
that
on.
happened. Yeah, that happened while I was postpartum and breastfeeding and crying and weight gain and healing and busting my ass with the daycare. Like that happened. And, we talked about it. And he was just like, look, I didn't mean it like that. But, we talked about it later on. And he was like, I didn't mean it like that. But he said it. And, literally that day I took the ring off and I was like, you know what? It's here. It's here somewhere in my house. But I was like, okay, I guess that's the end. And I'm telling you, within days, Eric hit me up and was like, I don't want to do this without you. And I was like, all right, God, what? You know, yeah. I
Do
mean,
you,
listen, if you're a person of faith, like you just think sometimes things happen and you just got to go, okay, God, I'm listening. What is happening? And, yeah, it literally happened just like that. It's crazy.
so initial reports and articles make it seem as if you're dropping a scandal, right? Like this is
Yeah.
going to be a big story about the mayor having a girlfriend, all of that. Two things. Do
Yeah.
you think he's your soulmate because you speak highly of him? And and two, why drop this book right now?
Yeah, you're asking really good questions. You're asking a lot of questions people haven't asked because they haven't read the book and they're so interested in like the salaciousness of it. Soulmate? No, I don't think he's my soulmate. I don't know. Well, I don't know what a soulmate is yet. I don't think I know what a soulmate is, right? But do I have a connection to Eric? Yeah, 100%. I just don't like the idea of just watching a black man drown. Like I can't. I can't. I was raised by a black man, and that's why I opened the book with my great grandfather. My great grandfather was huge in New York City. He migrated with the Black community in the 40s, and then, he was a huge figure in the civil rights movement, especially in New York. Dr. Martin Luther King Sr. went to Morehouse together. They were like brothers. And then Martin Luther King Jr. called my great grandfather, Uncle Sandy. He just didn't know anybody. He thought that was his uncle. When Martin Luther King Jr. was stabbed in Harlem, he went to my great grandfather's parsonage to heal because he didn't trust anybody in New York. So, and then he also was like the first Black elected official, elected in the assembly in the Ohio legislature. He founded Cornerstone Baptist Church. He marched with Jackie Robinson, to up to Capitol Hill. He did so much. And, like I described in the intro, although I never met him, like that advocacy and just the the audacity to speak up and that sense of courageousness, like I feel it in my bones. And I mentioned ancestry, how it's like it's passed into your memory, into your DNA, into your blood. And I feel it. I can't, like, it's something I can't deny. If I ever feel like there's some type of injustice, like I'm usually the first person to speak up, like, hey, that's not fair. So as I began to, observe how Eric was being attacked, not just in the administration, I felt like he was being sabotaged. I felt like the press was sabotaging him. I felt like the campaign finance board was sabotaging him. I felt like he was running an ineffective, communications campaign. It's just, I was watching this unfold, and it was so unfortunate. And I felt like I had to speak up and I had to say something in defense of this man who I love and respect, and who I think is, being done wrong by the general public. And so even though I had been writing the book for some time and I hadn't planned on publishing it in some time, when he said, Jazz, he called me and said, I'm going to drop out. I was like, no, what are you, crazy? And then I just like, you know what? I quit because I was like, if he's out, there's nothing for me here because I believe in the person. I believe in the mission. Um, and then I dropped the book. I was just like, you know what, freak it. I dropped the book and I said, let's see what happens. And hopefully people read it and get the real story of who this man is.
Did he approve of the book?
He read it after I dropped it. I read some of it to him, like as I was reading it, but like I read, Willie Lynch. I read Unapologetically Black. I didn't read chapters 1 and 2. But after he read it, he loved it. He read it and he said, okay, I wish you didn't say certain things, but at the same time, he said, I think you really did a good job, unpacking really tough topics.
You did.
Thank
And
you.
it says something about how you're able to put small issues in large context.
Thank
Because
you.
where you started with your grandfather, I always say big people talk about big topics. The reason Martin Luther King was important is because he didn't talk about what was going on Canal Street. He
That's
talked
right.
about what was going on in the world. Same
Mhm.
for Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X. These people travel and find an idea that they could latch on to and live their lives through. That's what makes artists big.
That's right.
If an artist is just singing about what's in his community,
Mhm.
nobody cares about him. But if you're singing about stuff that people can relate to. So when I read the book and you touched on your grandfather, you're connecting your story, your New
My
York
roots.
story to a big idea. And I thought that's highly intellectual of you. So
Thank you.
kudos to that. Kudos to that. When you get the Netflix deal,
When I love it, put it out there in the universe. Yep.
who
When.
who would
Yeah.
you want to play the mayor and who would you want to play yourself?
So a lot of people had told me over the years that I remind them of Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls. And
Ah,
it's so funny that she just, like, I think she's either still in or just finished a run in Broadway. Broadway, we just had our best year in the history of Broadway, which again speaks to Eric's, work and his administration. She just gave this amazing performance on Broadway. So hell yeah, I want her to, playing me. And then
Yeah, she's hot. I like her.
she's so pretty. And then uh Morris Chestnut. Morris Chestnut for Eric.
Oh
Listen,
man, come to looking like chocolate dropper.
I love yes, yes. Let's dream big, Morris Chestnut.
Now that I could see that happening. You casted well, and I
Oh,
could
thank you,
definitely see
thank
that
you. I
happening.
can see those two together, right? Morris Chestnut and Nicole Scherzinger. That'd be steamy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's on the border. It has all the ingredients of a good show, right? It's
Okay.
political. It's like it's a scandal, but it's not a scandal. It's a story about humanity, a story about power, a story about black consciousness. It has all these ingredients. It has, the gum to sell a show. You've managed to put it in a book first, and I always say. Anybody want to get in this industry, write your way in. And
Mm.
this, I think, is your right in. What's next for you?
I don't know. Well, first I'm a mom, right? So like I'm sorry, but like the second I quit, I was like, I was able to exhale. I was like, that felt good. It felt great. It felt great. So, I have a small real estate portfolio. So I sold one of my houses to be able to get this project over the finish line and to be able, to quit and relax and figure out my next steps. I was already in the process of selling it because, I was watching the polls. Eric wasn't doing well, and I was like, well, I'm not going to stay in the administration if he's not here. So, as much as I love the work itself, things are determined by the person at the top. So, I had told one of my tenants, if you're interested in buying my house, I'm interested in selling, and they bought it. So I closed this month in October. So, I have a
Congratulations.
little nest egg. So I'm gonna take my time. I've been waking up, cooking every day. I got a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old, so they keep me busy. I've been promoting the book. I haven't had, honestly, since the day it dropped, which was October 5th, I haven't had a day off. So I feel more busy now than I did before. So I'm constantly like right after here, I'm running to radio, doing an interview there. Like it's been a lot. And then my attorney is fielding these inquiries about, turning this into a show. That's exciting. And then, I still love politics. I'm very much like into, first of all, I love this country. I love the United States. And I love, if you travel the world, you have an appreciation for the United States, right? And I'm in no way saying that our country is perfect. But I love to be one of the people who try to course correct, put us back on the right path. I don't agree with a lot that's going on now. And I love New York City. So if there's an opportunity to, I don't know that I would ever be back in government because that was a nightmare, to be honest. But if there's an opportunity to serve New York City and or serve the United States, I would love to, just not in an official like government capacity. I'm interested in like doing something like that. So
Hmm.
like in my mind, like those are next steps. It's like, and like I built this house, like I gutted my house, I built my house. So now I want to build an extension to my house. Like there's so much. I love construction, I love interior design. So, I have plans and I'm in no way bored. I have a very big schedule and I'm still trying to manage my sanity and my weight and I'm trying to focus on self-care, blah, blah, blah. So,
I'm gonna pull an Eric on you. You look perfect. Okay, so
I appreciate you. Thank
that's
you. No, I wear sweaters for a reason. I still got another 20 pounds to drop and then I'll be right back where I was.
I know New York girls always on Sex and the City kind of weight, but no, no, no. You are the epitome of beautiful black
I
woman.
appreciate you.
And
Thank you. Thank you. No, no, the thickness is still there. Trust me, I didn't lose it. It's just I got to make sure it's in the right places. So, yeah,
you're healthy. That's all you need. You need to be healthy to live to 100 years old. And you do.
100%. Yeah, I'm big on health. Definitely big on health.
So the case against Eric that to the media Trump helped him to get over with, right? What's your perspective on that and
Yeah.
and how it turned out? I see him answer on Ebro, but I want to hear your perspective from the inside looking.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I do agree with Eric. I think he was politically motivated in the first place. The indictment, I read it like everybody else the day it came out. And once I, flipped through it, I was like, "Hmm, well, like this is all they got? Like, why would they, my first reaction was like, why would they indict a sitting mayor who is dealing with a migrant crisis, just coming out of COVID and trying to move the city forward? Like, why would they indict him over this? Like that was my first, without even talking to Eric, without listening to the news. I was just like, this doesn't make sense to me. And then, again, like I love politics. I genuinely do. And, you pay attention and I think it was politically motivated. I think that the powers that be were trying to shut him up and they figured this would be the way how, everybody has accused the DOJ of being, weaponized. Everybody from both sides. President Trump has said it, and President Biden has said it, right? So, and now Eric is saying it. And this is not an attack on the DOJ either, because they continuously have changed leadership over the last 5 years, right? So it's like I'm not even talking about one person. It's just the entity itself has been leveraged in ways in which I don't believe it, that's not the core, their core mission is to attack political figures. So
Yeah.
I think it was politically motivated. As far as, President Trump getting him out of this mess, he didn't know Trump prior to the indictment. I think that President Trump, like he made a comment in the Alfred Smith dinner, saying, you're going to be okay. And I think people took that as, oh, Trump is hooking him up. They know each other. They didn't know each other. I think they just, Trump had felt some type of like kinship in that moment because he had felt like the DOJ was being weaponized against him. Um, but I think that any good lawyer worth their salt reviewed that case and said, there isn't much here, and I think that that's what the DOJ did, and I think that they independently. I'm not saying without um what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not saying that the
Without
president of the United
influence.
States didn't have any influence, but I am saying that um, you know, they 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 looked at the case for what it was and made that decision, based on their determination. And, again, if you've read it, you kind of be like, this doesn't make any sense. Not to indict a sitting mayor of New York City, I just,
Yeah.
and then, it's unprecedented. And here we are again. I'm sorry, I hate the race conversation sometimes, but it's like sometimes you got to say it out loud. Like, first mayor, second black mayor to ever be indicted, first mayor to ever be indicted, second black mayor in the city's history. Like, I don't know. It just smells bad all around. So
You mentioned you had a lawyer who kind of set you up. Are you still good with that lawyer? And
no, no. I wouldn't say he set me up. It just I unpacked that in the chapter 5 trials. I just I didn't understand it. I didn't, it all went so fast. And I consider myself a very like I make decisions quickly. And so when it was happening, I was like, well, I'm happy to say I'm willing to talk to anybody. I'm willing to go in. But the way that it was done, without proper prepping and then while being in there, some of the line of questioning was very like suspicious to me. And then when I came out for them to say you're a key witness, you're a star witness, that was shocking to me because I was like, well, I don't know anything. So here we are now. Now I'm in it and I don't get it. There is no clear determining factor here of like what role did I play? And they were like, well, you're a witness, you don't have any criminality. Great. I still don't understand how I can be helpful here. And again, that's not an attack on the DOJ. It's just I didn't understand it and there was no clear explanation. And so when I walked out, I was like, holy cow, I need different representation. And I sought somebody else out, and I unfortunately had to terminate that attorney rather quickly because I didn't, you as a client, you don't want to walk into a situation that you're like absolutely confused about, and then you walk out and you're even more confused. You want clarity, you want direction. And I didn't have any of that.
My last question, you've become a meme online where someone
I
posted
have?
someone posted the picture of you on the New York Times, and the caption is, "This mayor has made a lot of bad decisions, but this is not one of them."
I have not seen that.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, you should
no.
check out Twitter. It's they're gone with it. It's not like millions of likes and retweets and all
Oh
that.
my God. I had no idea. Okay, so what's your question? I'm embarrassed.
So my
I'm
question is,
embarrassed.
are you okay when people make lighthearted fun of your story because it helps to sell the book?
Hmm.
I'm a music person, and this immediately connected to me because one, I saw you with Chingy, I saw you, and the whole thing just kind of clocked to me, right?
Yeah.
Are you okay like to just laugh at your story, or are you still taking it dear to your heart?
Now I'm happy to laugh at myself any day. I don't, like I said in the beginning, like if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. I have a thick skin. I've always had a thick skin, and I'm happy to laugh at myself. I didn't read a lot of the comments, and I wasn't looking on the internet for the first week because it felt like a storm, a tornado. And people can be funny, and I love the internet for that, but people can also be like mean spirited.
True.
And so I didn't want to see that stuff. So I'm sorry for everybody who was trying to get my attention. I wasn't on the internet for a week. If you saw me post it, that wasn't me. So it wasn't me. I have a whole team that I built around this book. So I had no idea that existed, but nah, I'd make fun of myself in a heartbeat. I don't take myself serious, and nobody in this position should. So,
So we got 3 minutes left. Who are your top five artists of all time?
musical artists?
And I don't know what's your taste. Tell me.
Okay, I love saying, so it's gonna sound weird, but like Barbara Streisand, Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, probably Christina Aguilera because I come from that era, and man, one more, five. I love country music. I know that sounds weird, but like I love Bonnie Ray. I love Jewel. I gotta leave that one
Okay,
open
that's
for,
more than five.
yeah.
I want you to, we're gonna wrap up now. Just
My name is Jasmine Ray, and you are watching World Music Views.